Good morning, West USA. Welcome to another edition of our Monday morning podcast. My life got so much better this weekend. I finally broke down, invested the dollars, and got the NFL ticket. So I no longer have to watch the Cardinals.
Congratulations.
Like I got all other options. All right, well, we're not here to talk about football, but we could all day long. A little sneak peek of what we got coming up today. What's on tap? All right, we got Todd's look at the numbers. Of course, we got Matt Baker here with to give us our mortgage. I get asked all the time. How's the market? How's the three things when people say how's the people are like, oh, I feel must be rough. Yeah. And how we take that question and convert with it. And then one of our top producers and team leaders here from the West USA, Shawn Rogers, are going to stop by and to discuss best practices, including overcoming rate objections and phone prospecting. As always, if you got any comments or questions, please feel free to email us at podcast@westusa.com. All right, let's start jumping into the announcements. All right, Carlos Cicero's team has got their breast cancer awareness gala coming up Saturday, October 14th. So it's a great opportunity for you to give back to your community. Buy a couple tickets, take some clients, past clients, present clients, whatever the case is. So definitely want to get signed up for that. All right, Dean Baker's got a live in-person CE class coming up on mobile home and manufactured home purchase contracts.
It's not your grandfather's mobile home.
It's not your grandfather's mobile home. It might be Todd's mobile home, like my grandfather's mobile home. But that's coming up Tuesday, September 19th from 9 to 12. Get 3 hours of contract law. Speaking of CE classes, Todd's disclosure and the law CE class, 3 hours of disclosure law coming up this Wednesday, September 20th from 9 to 12. This one will be remote. All right, we've got our Chandler office meeting. We got Sean O'Neill coming back. If you have a hard time remembering names, this is just a great opportunity to learn some tactics when you meet somebody, how to remember their names. And then Dean Becker will be there for broker updates. So that's coming up this Wednesday, September 20th, 10 to 11, Chandler office meeting. All righty, we have our surprise happy hour coming up this Wednesday from 4:30 to 6:30 at State 48 Brewery. All right, if you're looking for some free headshots, the North Phoenix office is hosting a headshot event this Thursday from 10 to 12 p.m. Space is limited, so this is definitely one of those things you are going to want to RSVP, so you can just reach out to Tony at westusarealty.com and reserve your headshot space. All right, company-wide open house. All right, Nick, take this away.
So we, through a couple of our managers, got together and they decided it'd be fun to do a full morning of open houses across West USA's branch offices. So all the offices in the Metro Phoenix area are going to be open for anybody who wants to walk through. If you're interested in joining West USA, if you haven't been to one of our offices, you want to take a look, feel free to do that. If you have worked with an agent and you think they might be a good fit, this would be a great day to bring them by, let them introduce themselves to the manager. You receive that $100 credit for anybody who joins and refers you, or writes your name down as the referring agent, and they get the $500 sign-on bonus for joining West USA right now. So if you have any more questions about this event, it's going to be a lot of fun. Reach out to your branch manager.
All righty, grand opening. We are celebrating, obviously, the Scottsdale office. The new Scottsdale office opened up a little while back, but we are celebrating it on Thursday, October 5th, all day long from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So just be on the lookout for upcoming announcements and different things that we're going to be doing. But go ahead and put that down in your calendar. All right, so this Thursday from 10 to 12, Ryan and I are going to be out at the Chandler office, and we're going to be going through some of our processes and systems on navigating vacant land opportunities. Whether you're an agent yourself looking for land, or you have clients who are asking about land, it's a completely different animal than buying a house. So we're going to walk you through all those nuances. So as always, if you've got any questions about any of these events or want to RSVP, all you got to do is go to your dashboard and hit the calendar button. All right, Todd, take it away.
Okay, we have a lot of information today, so we're going to go even faster than I normally go. So let's get into it. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Today, we're going over the greater Phoenix housing market statistics for the week ending September 18th. Looking atop across the board or something along those lines, 50 days closed on market. We have a 2.95 month supply. Absorption rates at 33.87. Our average list price this past week was $789,000. Our average sale price this past week was $567,000, and our list price to sale price retention at 97.63. Yes, we're continuing. This is a little bigger jump than normal, but the inventory is continuing to increase. We're up to 13,253, 2,477 people. Yes, that is correct. 2,477 pending, 2,544 closed for the month. A little too early for anything really to be seen there. 1,618 new listings taken this past week, 100.6 days on market for active and 54 for closed. As we've been talking about, this under $500,000 market is it's pivotal in the greater Phoenix metropolitan market because we have so many people based on incomes, based on the fact that income's lagging as sale prices are increasing. This is a very, very important market segment for first-time home buyers and for workforce housing. So this needs to stay above 50%, and it has been. It's been struggling to, but it has been. That's a good sign. 500 to a million is where most of our business is done. 35.4% is done between $500 and $1 million, averaging 79 days on market. And our actual above $1 million price range is sitting at 14.3% of the entire MLS. So this is our spreadsheet where we get a chance to really just make everybody the expert. So I just put some new borders in today to kind of make sure everybody's on target when I say, oh, go to the middle of the page or whatnot. So the right-hand side includes month-over-month analysis and year-over-year in the same two blue columns. Looking to the left, we have in the very center of the page, we have the 2021 same week. So the same week of the year just 2 years ago, and the same thing to the left of that just last year. And then, of course, we have week over week. So you get a good sense of seeing what everything is. And then finally, way over on the left, I call it rules of thumb, but this is where we'd like to see the market. This is kind of where it belongs based historically. So looking at the numbers, 1721 is better than 1618, however, just not quite as good as last year at 1965. So and 2066 the year before that. So we are still struggling to keep this as close as possible to 2,400, if not in excess. Looking at active inventory, it's like I said, it's continuing to climb. We were at 12,914 last week. We're at 13,253. Last year, we were at 20,172 this particular week. And then, of course, the year before that, when the market was super brisk, it was at 8,351. So of the 13,000 listings that we have currently active, 572 of those are coming soon. 10,537 are non-distressed single family. 2,673 new construction properties. 13,198 non-distressed. Pending it, like we were talking about, Mike, I've only seen this happen probably 3 times in tracking these numbers since 1994. That was a good number. That this has been really as low as it has been. We've never, it's only happened 4 times that it's been under 2,500. Today's one of those. Looking at the closed month to date numbers, as we said, it's a little too early to really extrapolate anything on, but we can say at least in that number that we're tracking similarly to each of the more previous months. Month supply at 2.95. That's right in our sweet spot. Look to the left, 2.5 to 3%. So that's a good sign as well. 3.39 last week was just a little brisk, a little slow. Taking a look at the average sale prices, we already talked about those. Like I said, we're going to go kind of brisk through this. So if you have any questions, by all means, you can always call me or email me. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. 50 days on market, slide your eyes to the right. It's about the same as it was last year, but 28 days the year before that. So things are, continuing to be in that sweet spot range. And again, 97.8 is where we want to be. 97.63 is where we are this week. This week's got some great numbers. So I thought it was easy to brisk through that because the numbers were just really in favor for us. So I wanted to take a little reflection on what's going on. So 2023, the vertical column there is in comparison. You can go back to these slides, all the way back to, 2020 is what I'm reporting here. Like I said, I have these all the way back to 1996, actually. But in this particular case, 7,600 is where we are year to date as an average. Last year, we were averaging 9,500 new listings taken. So when you're 2,000 listings short, it's hard. Fortunately, but not, our inventory has been increasing right now. It's actually almost identical to what it was last year this same time. If you slide your eyes further into the green and the orange colors, you can see that where the inventories were back to 2020. Pending is sitting at 4,702 by average. So when we're at this year, so when we're at 2,400, you've got 2,300 fewer people this past week in the marketplace, whatever it was that caused that. 5,200 is where it was on average last year. Taking a look at closed units, you can see here 6,500 is about 6,493 is where we've been averaging. 7,100, 7,200 was the average last year. 8,700 the year before that. So again, this is just for you to reflect on, to go back to, if you're looking for historical patterns, and that's what I look for. What if I can lay this year on top of a previous year in a transparency, what are going to be similar? And that helps you understand exactly how you want to approach the market and approach your client, and the answers that you're going to provide for your client. Average sale prices $549 currently year to date, $555 last year. So it's $6,000 on average higher last year than the average sale price is this year. Median sale price has ticked up this year, but again, it's showing right now as an average of this year $427 versus $447 the year before that. So again, this is trying to say to people that are saying that the market is going in the tank. No, it's not. This document right here shows you a 5-year, 4-year perspective looking backwards, that the market is actually exactly where we would like it to be. 69.5 average days on market right now for sold. 70 is the number we're looking for. Again, we're right on top of these numbers. 96.51's a little weak because the first quarter of the year, sellers, the market wasn't here, and sellers had to give up a little more than they would have normally given up in a regular market. But just right to the right of that is 98.7. So you can see all these numbers are favorable to both buyers and also to sellers right now. So I think it's really important that we internalize that. And if you need more information about it, you can always reach me, and I'd be happy to help you out from that perspective.
All right, thanks, Todd. Great information. And let's just see if Matt's got good news.
Well, I got news. And thinking of just perspective, right? I just read that the Bank of Turkey, 25% is the benchmark rate. And so that would mean rates are probably in the 28 to 30% range for a mortgage.
Not
Perspective.
bad. Yeah,
perspective. Because look, 7.38, mid-sevens, it ain't so bad.
There's your market. Start marketing in Turkey.
Right. Come to the United States. But listen, in general, this has been, last week was a big week. We've put this kind of information before, but inflation actually ticked higher month over month. So that 0.2 on the far left, August of 22, was replaced by that 0.6. So the headline number, which a lot of the media wants to grab onto, went up. And so you can see here by the blue line that blue line has ticked up higher. But the good news is that purple line, which excludes the food and energy, which is the more volatile piece. We all know that most of that increase in inflation was in the gas pump because we're seeing it, especially out there driving as much as we all do. And so that's an impact. But look at the bigger picture, is that purple line is what the Fed looks at for determining the policies in the future. And so, I wanted to take just a quick extra second to give sort of 4 reasons why rates haven't already improved. Right. And this is really, I think, an important piece, is that the bank crisis, number one, we made a call, or the people I followed made a call that they thought rates would be improving by May. It didn't happen. And here's sort of why. Well, first off, the bank crisis. There was a run on bank deposits, which put pressure because now those banks had to take over. The FDIC took over those banks and they had to sell those assets, which took money away from mortgage bonds. Secondly, the debt ceiling. Government continued to increase the debt ceiling, which means you have to put more treasuries out to pay for that. Therefore, they took money away from the mortgage bonds because that drove up rates. And then, of course, having that Fitch downgrade of government debt didn't help either. So these kind of 4 reasons is what sort of, but there is a silver lining. And the point is that CPI shelter number that's at the very top right, that blue line, is starting to turn. Shelter makes up 43% of the inflation number. We've talked about that before. Look at when you exclude shelter. Look at that green line. We're almost to that 2% target. We're getting there, right? So there is the silver lining that in order for us to get here, we have to get a little bit more restrictive. Is that a September rate hike, which the Fed meets this week? Is that November? That's what the traders are all talking about. But the good news is here, this is the shelter inflation forecast, and it's all turning lower month over month over month. And it's, remember, we talked about this a while ago. There's a 12 to 18 month lag that's finally starting to kind of get in here. So if you really project out, there is an absolute opportunity for rates to improve in the coming future. I'm thinking spring. If I'm going to put myself out there, I think spring rates will be in the fives. That's my call. But one thing that you can mention is this is just a good little nugget. 1% reduction in rates brings 5 million more eligible buyers nationally. So if we had 10,000 more buyers, Todd, can our market handle 10,000 more buyers? I mean, you saw the numbers. There's not enough inventory for that. So, hey, buyers, now 7% is your friend. 7% is your friend because you can actually go win a house right now. Jobs are weaker than the numbers really indicate. If you really take some time and do some digging and do some research, you'll find that there's really a lot of double counting in the jobs numbers. There's a lot of part-time jobs being counted, thinking that's full-time employment. It's not. That's going to really take some time, but it will come out. And then, of course, the Fed meets not next week because I wrote this on Friday, but it's this week. And the Fed operates in extreme. And so, Fed funds rate that's at 5.5, not at 25% like it is in Turkey, but then higher than the 10-year Treasury by actually the largest time in history and only 4 times ever. And every time a recession follows. And they have to, so they raise rates quick, and then they're going to drop rates just as fast in order to keep the market or encourage the market to come back on. And so every time rates were cut, mortgage rates improve. And so the question is just when. And so my call is, like I said, the spring, but be confident, and know that it's coming. And then we've got a new time for the pulse. We're going to try out a noon or 12:30 time, see if that helps. We've had good feedback and good comments. And so this is part of that. Just as we evolve and do a mortgage pulse, we'll talk about economy, housing, and rates on that Wednesday, October 11th, like we do every second Wednesday of the month. And then this time it's going to be at 12:30.
So Matt, you're still recommending to people to buy today. It's just, 100%. Of course, if the rates do come down in that period of time, then refi.
Then refi.
Yeah, because you offer that, right?
Of course, yeah. And we'll do a $2,000 discount on your refinance fees in the future as well. And that's, as always, you can get my contact card. That is a good way to take a picture and connect with me. I'm happy to be your resource.
All right, thanks, Matt. And kind of that last slide that you had is, that's a lot of great information. It's the conversation that we have, and it's going to be a great segue into my 3-pack, but it's the conversation. If you are an investor and I am in the market to buy investment properties, the last thing I want is for rates to go down. I need higher rates. I need a little bit more time with the high rates because that once they do drop, it's opportunities aren't going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to have to start overpaying for properties versus appraisal. Yeah. Right now, you actually can get a deal potentially.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So that is a good segue. So number one question I get from family, friends, just consumers out there, how's the market? How's business? How are you doing? And it's always with that touch of
negativity.
Not negativity, but empathy, where they assume, because of everything that they hear in the news, they assume that everything is dire. And they're just like, oh, Mike, so how's it going? So we all get those questions. So I'm just going to run through just 3 simple. I have 4 typical responses. One of them would not be appropriate for kids. So we'll just stick with the 3. And they all base from the same premise of taking advantage of opportunities. It's just a different way I pitch it. So one of the first things I say when somebody says, how's the market? I right away say, well, we're seeing historical opportunities. And all of a sudden, the tone and the conversation shifts because they're like, well, what are you talking about? I hear that the market's horrible. And so kind of go through a little bit about what, kind of what Matt said. When I tell you, when you ask me how the market is, and I say, well, we're seeing historical opportunities, you can't tell me that there's not going to be a follow-up question to that because they want to know, what does that mean? And we'll kind of go through the same stuff. Well, with rates high, many buyers are sitting on the fence. And even with low inventory, low inventory, our buyers are getting incredible deals on homes. That is where you want to be. And I'm not I hate that saying, date the
Oh, yeah.
rate, buy the home or whatever. But
Yep.
I get the
Marry the
principle. It's or marry the home. But you buy now, refinance later. You get the best of both worlds.
Correct.
Because, and I am using this term with people, it is when rates drop, not only are prices going to go up, it is going to be a bloodbath. Do you want to be part of it? And now I've just changed the narrative.
And it slows people down. I love the concept of historical opportunities, just those two words side by side. And
I might have learned something from my wife's book.
you think? There's actually, yes, and to her book. If nobody has read Mindy's book, you need to read Mindy's book called Scarcity. It's amazing how you can reapply that into every aspect of your life, from dating to real estate. But in this particular thing, take this away. What you're doing is you're slowing people down and giving and putting them in a position that now they want to know, what are you talking about? What do you mean? It's different from what I'm hearing. Yes, it's not national news. It's not sensationalism. It's boots on the ground, Main Street, USA.
Well, so the comments that I've heard is that we are in a post-pandemic, economic climate, a real estate market that we've never seen after a pandemic. Having it said as historical opportunities is that positive spin on what the market currently is. We've never seen a market like this coming after a pandemic. No one knows what their recourse was going to, or the repercussions of the decisions made during the pandemic were going to come. Now we're seeing them. That's what we're into right now. And so it's the waiting game, the hold your breath. It's the people that are on the fence. I had a conversation on Friday with people that were out of town. They were looking at buying in Arizona couple of years ago, decided they wanted to wait, and all we keep hearing is I kick myself and kick myself and kick myself. And that's across the board in any state, not only Arizona, but your buyers that are waiting, they're going to be super frustrated in a few months.
I will warn everybody, though, if you're going to take this response out for a spin, you better be able to answer the follow-up questions, because the follow-up questions are coming. Second thing I say when somebody says, hey, how's the market? How's business? I say, well, it's incredible. I say we're busier than ever. That's the one people go, what? You're not supposed to be busy. Everything I'm hearing in the news, everything I'm hearing, my neighbor's a realtor and he's about to go out of business and all this stuff. And I always just say, well, the market's incredible. We're busier than ever. Buyers are still buying. Sellers are still selling. And going back to the historical opportunities, and I use the word savvy because I want people to feel like they want to be savvy. Savvy buyers and investors recognize these unique times and opportunities, and they're jumping in the game while everybody else is sitting on the fence, and to Nick's point, and going to kick themselves a year from now.
So there's a couple of things right here that we're saying. If you're listening to national news, you're not paying attention to the local market. Number two, the national news and the local news, typically by a narrative perspective, is talking to a single family primary residence homeowner or home seller. So think about this, just go back historically and think about whenever it wasn't good for a primary homeowner, somebody who was buying a home for themselves to live in or sell a home, whenever it's not been good for those people, who's it been good for? Investors.
Yep.
So, it depends. It's like, okay, so the September market's coming to a close. October is going to be the dwindling down of our hot summer market, and then all of a sudden what? Okay, well, you're going to either go on hiatus or you're going to realize there's a second home market that's just coming back to the valley that's been gone for 6 months. Our snowbirds are, and so if you're not pivoting and realizing that if the narrative's bad for homeowners as a single family primary residence, then it must be great for the investor. If it's really good for the investor, it's not good for the homeowner. So, or if it's bad for an investor, guess what? It's fantastic for a single family residence.
Yeah, and Nick, I'm glad Todd brought up the term. It's all about changing the narrative.
Correct.
When you're going to meet with somebody or you're going to start phone prospecting, calling friends, or your friend calls you, they already have this narrative in their mind of what's going on in the market. And I'm telling I use this one. I use all three, but I use this one all the time. It's just, when I tell people it's incredible, they're expecting me to tell them bad news. Mm-hmm. And they're expecting to have to comfort me. And now all of a sudden, I've flipped the script, I've flipped the narrative, and now they want to have, because the whole goal of this is to have a deeper real estate conversation. And now I'm having a deeper real estate conversation. I can't get everybody off the fence, but I can get a lot of people off the fence.
When you're having a truer real estate conversation than what the narrative that's being put out there by the media. I mean, Todd hit it on the head. You're following national, you're following news. Unfortunately, news is now an entertainment vertical. It is click, it is interaction, it's eyes on screen. There was an article this weekend, late last week, that talked about how rents are going up. Well, rents went up from 2016, 2021. They've stopped going up in the last 12 months, and they're actually projected to start coming down. And so having an article that says rents have gone up it's false. It's not accurate. So you, as the real estate expert, need to know what is actually happening in the marketplace. And that's why it's important when you start having these conversations, you need to be able to back it up, because you're going to start getting those. What do you mean it's busier than ever? How is that possible? You need to be able to explain why and how.
Yeah, and this is it's really the only way to combat the news. I can't fight with cable news. I can't. I don't have the bandwidth and I don't have the reach, but I have experience. And if you think the market's bad because you're reading the news or listening to the news, and I am telling you that I'm busier than ever, and my buyers are buying and my sellers are selling, I'm overcoming that obstacle. And then the third response, and this is my favorite one. It's like, depends on who you are. How's the market? Well, just depends on who you are. Yeah. If you need to buy, you need to buy. So everybody always asks me, well, is it a great time to buy or is it a great time to sell? Well, it just depends. It depends on your motives. It depends on your needs. It depends on your timeline. There is no blanket response to that question. But if you need to buy, you need to buy. Okay, so it doesn't matter. The market's it's good for you. If you need to sell, you need to sell. But, it depends on who you are. Are you looking for a great price on a home?
Yeah,
or are you looking to compete in this bloodbath and jump into the bloody waters with the great white sharks and the seals and stuff like that? Depends on who you are.
Mike, how long you and I have been doing this for a while, but the thing is how long have we seen the fact that, when what makes people move when they don't want to move? A life event. Something happens. You lose your job. You get you find out your wife's pregnant with quadruplets. You need to relocate for whatever reason. That is a outside stimulus that kind of forces people into the buy sell scenario. On the other hand, you might be just looking to add to your portfolio, or maybe you're really looking for that final fourth quarter property or whatever. So yes, but the big thing is nobody ever found their perfect house everywhere they look. I mean, everybody has a different needle in the haystack. What they're looking for is absolutely different than the next person is looking for. So don't listen to everybody else's dilemmas. Don't listen to all their heartaches. Focus on your own. Get together with your realtor, or if you are a realtor listening to this, because obviously that's our purpose. Give your seller or buyer an opportunity for you to put them in the position to come to the realization that you have resources like your mobile app, like your website, if it's an I Found Agent website, and you can put people on there with campaigns and help find the property they're looking for. Because the coolest thing is when they're out there shifting in their mindset. Oh, I want a 2,800 four bedroom on a pool with a view, and then all of a sudden you start seeing them look for 3 bedrooms, with something else. There's clues left everywhere, but don't give your buyer the positiveness of that what they're looking for can be found.
Well, no, and again, it comes back to who you are. If your FICO score is 540, you haven't worked in 3 months, you got less than $150 in the bank, the market's not very good for you.
Of course.
Right?
Well,
but it's all about, Nick, depends on who you are. And you might go, well, what does that mean? I go, well, are you opportunistic? Are you looking for great opportunities?
It's having that conversation to be able to get even those people that have not the best scenario. You work with them, you cultivate, build that relationship. And that's what these are. Their ability for you to go out, have conversations in the real world and speak like an expert to the people that are asking you, how is the market? I think that's fantastic stuff there. And if you're still a little bit confused, reach out. Let's have a conversation, because there's a lot of things you could be talking about right now when you're out in the world.
And one last thing, if I can, Mike, is that, people our job is not to really change their mind. Our job is to put them in a position to change their mind all by themselves. And so the more we try to change people's minds, the more they're putting up those emotional and I'm not listening walls. And the moment we try to help them realize how they can better position themselves, well, now that's a client.
Yeah, again, it's all about having deeper real estate conversations with people. Take inventory after this podcast. When people are asking you, how's the market? How's your business? What are you saying?
Yep.
If you're saying, oh, it's really slow, it's going to stay slow.
What's that old-fashioned thing Gary Vaynerchuk used to say? If you think you can't, you won't. If you think you can, you might.
All righty, we are bringing in our very special guest. He is the team leader of the Mr. Rogers team out in the East Valley, though he is valley-wide, and one of my good friends, one of our top producers here at West USA Realty every single year.
Always.
And his team is one of our top producing teams here at West USA each and every year. His name is Shawn Rogers. Shawn, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
All right, you got to get right into that microphone.
Yeah, straight on.
All right, how was the drive?
It was beautiful.
Every time I have him on, he's like, do I really have to make the drive?
Packed my lunchbox. I am.
All right, so we're going to talk to Shawn about best practices. Generally, when we have top producers on, we always have them, give us their 5 tips, and Shawn's already done that. So I wanted to dig a little deeper. I consider Shawn Rogers one of the very best when it comes down to working the phones, prospecting, whether it's prospecting, taking an internet lead in, give Shawn a phone and he look out.
Magical things happen.
Because I sometimes get on the phone with Shawn and now he has me doing things I didn't really want to do.
It happens.
So take us through some of your strategies, some of your philosophies when it comes down to phone prospecting. I guess we could start with, how do you start? How do you prepare yourself to say, okay, for the next block of time, I'm working the phones?
Great question, Mike. And traditionally, when a lead comes into me, first and foremost, you got to research the lead. I guess it would be if a patient comes into the doctor's office prior to them going in and visiting, they look at their charts. They look at the information for that person. So that's one of the first things I do is to try to acclimate myself with what that particular person needs. And then as basic as this may sound, Mike, I traditionally ask them how their day is going and how can I make it better. I put real estate on the shelf for a second. They're human beings, and whether they're investors, first-time buyers, or anywhere in between, it's an emotional thing first and foremost. My expertise hopefully will shine if I get a chance, an opportunity to work with them. But first and foremost, I ask them how their day is going and how I can make it better.
Love it.
So how do you say you learn a little bit more about them? What are some of your processes? One of the things that I do, obviously, if it's a live transfer, you got very limited time. But back to $5 a month for Forewarn. I'm on the phone with people or I got a lead coming in. First thing I do is I go on Forewarn, see whether it's a legit number, see whether they've had a bankruptcy in the last 6 months, see whether they're felons and whether I even want to get into the car with them. But I also get an address history of them. What are some of the things that you do?
Mike, great bullet points. Again, that's about what I do as well. And I guess great minds think alike, or at least our minds think alike, whether that's good or bad. But I traditionally look at the information given, and if it's whether it's a direct connect lead, like a right live transfer, or it comes in through a third-party site, however the information was given to you, traditionally you're going to have first name, last name, area code, and a little bit about where they're looking. If not, then I guess you're right. You're kind of starting from scratch, but that's where you ask generic lead questions. Where are you looking? What's your time frame? How can I help make the buy and or sell? And by the way, Mike, that's another huge tip. I would say go to nugget for a lot of agents that don't ask that question. Do they have to sell?
Mhm.
Are they currently renting? Again, helping them with their move or moves. So if I have that information, I'll ask those leading questions. If I don't, then I'll draw back to what I actually have sitting next to my computer. Now it's burned into my memory, but the questions of again, how's your day going? What could I best help? Where are we looking? Just again, generic questions that will lead into specific conversations.
I think phone prospecting is probably the most challenging part of an agent's business because most agents don't want to prospect. They don't want to pick up the phone and call people. Most agents aren't skilled at it. Most agents are afraid of rejection and over, and being rejected on the phone and so forth. It is an emotional endeavor for agents to say every single day I'm going to spend X amount of time on the phone prospecting. I just don't know any other way. I have not figured out any other way to be successful in this business without using my phone, without picking up the phone and prospecting and calling people and calling people. If you just wait, if all you do is just wait for your phone to ring, it's just going to be people selling you solar.
You're gonna be lonely.
I thought you were going to go in the other direction. If all you do is, and then I was going to say, just call your people and have fun and have conversations with them. Eventually, it'll lead to real estate. I was going to yeah, that's the answer. Go for it.
Well, Mike and crew, I don't want to brag, but I think I actually sold an auto warranty call or a house. And if you have to practice with that, then maybe that's the route you go.
Now that's a
every
conversion.
phone call. Yeah, well,
When I have time, I do it all the time.
Right.
When I get those sales calls, I'm not interested. But are you looking? Are you wanting to make more money?
Well, think about it. They've been received the most recent training on how to convert people, or maybe they've been just thrown to the wolves. But I know our CEO of the company, Clint Fouts, I know for a fact he and I have had multiple conversations about how both of us, when we get solicited, we stay on the phones and have conversations with these people, not because we want to buy or be interrupted, because it's the most awesome training you can get right there on your behalf. Just listen to how they're manipulating in the conversation.
Todd, you can't get better free practice than that. And you might walk out with knowledge. If you get the ultimate win, then sure, you're going to help them as a real estate agent, or get a good core warranty. You never know.
Who was that person that I called many years ago trying to sell the home warranty or the auto warranty, and they almost had me buying a house? I want to call that. Oh, that was Shawn Rogers. Yeah, I got to call that guy.
That's how you go about it. And Mike, and on the phone, one of the things I kind of ponder is it's not maybe more leads an agent needs, but to work the lead longer and properly. The best way to keep other agents off the phone is for you to stay on the phone with those clients.
That's a
or
huge
potential
nugget
clients
right there.
Let's say I'm a newer agent, don't have a lot of business going on. If you were my team leader, how many calls a week should I be making?
Mike, again, a great question. And I say this from my heart. Sometimes I wonder if it's quality versus quantity, but if you're newer, I think the practice, the at-bats are the most important. And I don't want to date myself here, but if you had a phone book and you just started making phone calls, just to practice on how to say hello, who you are, and sometimes just the name of your title. I mean, I know we always kind of practice. Maybe you don't say you're a real estate agent, just say you're a wealth manager, or you're here to assist in one way or the other. I think I go way back to my Toastmasters days when my opening line used to be, "How much does a polar bear weigh?" And then the person would say, "I don't know," and I'd stick out my arm for a handshake and say, "Enough to break the ice." And my name is Shawn Rogers. And sometimes that has nothing to do with real estate.
I cannot tell you how many agents I recommend. And they don't listen. But go to Toastmasters. It is what an amazing opportunity to learn how to speak in front of people, have one-on-one conversations and so forth, and just learn how to communicate better. Good for you.
100%.
I'd like to answer, if I can, that question. How many do you need? Because I think we kind of glossed over it. But and then we'll ask Shawn. From my perspective, it's however many you need to achieve the volume that you're looking for. So as you get better, you'll need to potentially talk to fewer people. As you are newer, then to Shawn's point, use it as a learning experience. Talk to anybody and everybody. If they're breathing, have a conversation.
Exactly.
I measure it on, because we're going through a lot of the stuff with our team. It's not, for me, it's not so much the amount of calls. I want to know how much talk time you've had. How much talk time have you logged in today talking about real estate? Because if you tell me you're going to call 90 people today, but you only called 10 and you spent 6 hours on the phone talking about real estate, I'm going to say that's a pretty successful day.
That's a win.
All
Yeah, I don't know that we can go much further than that. But however, again, I just want there's a balance. How to win friends and influence people. Somebody wrote a book about that many years ago, but you should have read it, Dale Carnegie. So the thing is that what you don't want is somebody that the next time they see on their cell phone, Todd Menard's calling or you're calling, is to say, yeah, I don't want to answer it because they're going to wrap me into a 1-hour telephone conversation.
See, you know what? I'm going to share one of our biggest secrets here. So my team may get mad at me for this. My response is I actually tell people what I want is when your phone rings and you see my name, the first thing that should come to your head is I'm about to make money or I'm about to get paid.
I like that.
But all right, before we move on, a couple little tips. Are you a stand on the phone guy, walking around or sitting, or because I think it's the little nuances. Some of the little nuances help us become better prospectors on the phone.
Mike, what a great question. I don't want to bring up my medical history, but my wife just got me one of those watches that count your steps. And my doctor, ironically, who's a client, so it all kind of works out. We're clients of each other. Because I'll tell you what you should do because you enjoy talking, which is not a secret. Every time you get on the phone, walk around, and I'm sure you'll hit your steps.
That's what we do.
So my point is, I'm more of a walk around when I'm talking, and I'm trying to say that's to help my health cause.
Are you a script or no script guy?
I freewheel and skate. Usually I just throw the pitch and I'll figure it out.
But you've been doing it so long. Been doing it so long. But newer agents, my problem with scripts is they become a crutch. And then we sit there and read them. I'm more of a bullet point. Like these are the points that I need to make, and so that I can create a choose your own adventure. When I find when agents have a script, they just read it verbatim.
100%. And Mike, another thing, although I enjoy talking and giving information, one thing that will help newer agents would be you have to listen. And every little bit of information that a potential client will give you, that could be your bullet point to take to the next step.
Totally.
Whether it's talking about food, the weather, where they're moving from, what kind of car they drive, if their sporting team won or lost, it doesn't always have to be. And I know many of us get into the business for financial goals, but if you help the person and put the money almost at the bottom, it will always turn out to be beneficial for you in the long run.
All right, let's talk about, and I know we talked a little bit about it during the 3-pack, but again, you spend a great deal of time meeting with people face to face. You spend a great deal of time on the phone. Obviously, the biggest objection that we are facing from our consumers, our prospects, are rates. Rates are so high. I'm waiting. I've read 2 studies. One study said that the average American's waiting till rates to drop to 5.5. I read another one said that the average American is waiting for them to drop to 5%. So, which means, well, one, we're nowhere near that right now, which means the majority of potential home buyers are sitting on the fence and waiting. And I think one of the number one reasons is because of rates. So walk me through those discussions and how you convince me that rates aren't as big of a deal as I think they are.
All right, role play.
Mike, where'd you go?
Mike, traditionally, and that is on everybody's brain. I understand that it's about the dollars and cents, but traditionally, I'll ask them if that's first shot in the dark at us, which I respect, that rates are high. I usually counter back with what's the worst that can happen if you find your property now and lock into a rate that might be higher than was traditionally. Going back to, I think it was 1981, rates were about 18%. So we're way lower than that. I don't know that people focus on what it used to be, but if in fact they're concerned about the rates now, I traditionally say, what's the worst that can happen? If the rates go higher, you're locked in lower. If the rates go lower, you can refinance. And although I'm not a lender, most lenders have programs that they'll discount or help you with that refinance, your repeat business to them. And if they care about the longevity of their business, like we do, they want to take care of a repeat client, referrals as well. And if they keep the house for the amount of time that the rates, if it were to stay the same, I still think by the numbers, being a numbers person, that they're going to the equity is one thing, but if they were going to wait and pay the average rent now, let's call it $3,000, 3 times 12, if my math is correct, is about $36,000. That's the money that they could put towards their financial goals. And those are some of the tips I would give a person that don't focus so much on the rate. Buy the house, turn it into your home, enjoy it, and then we can see what the future holds. I don't know anyone that has a crystal ball or magic wand.
I had one, and I dropped it,
Darn it.
and it cracked.
We could have used it.
Yeah.
And the whole world's been in mayhem since.
Thanks, Mike.
Not only did he start the investment craze, he also cracked the globe.
I was so terrified when I had my first child that I was going to drop him. Right? I don't know whether that's anyways, I don't know how I got there. But Todd, I love what Shawn did with that, and it's something that I don't even do because I get into vomiting information and stats and so forth. You just led your comeback was a question. I love that. So what? I mean, yeah.
And it's the one they need to ponder. What's the worst thing? Because that's really what they're afraid of. And if they're not really in the end afraid of what might really happen or their worst fear, then they're more likely to want to do business.
Spot on, Todd. And again, if we are the professionals in our field, we have to add value. I know it might be cliche, but customer service is everything. If you're not offering that, then you're really probably not different than a third-party website that's not even, their corporate isn't in the Valley of the Sun.
I think a great follow-up question to that is, what's the best thing that could happen?
That could be as well.
I mean, because now let's focus on the very best possible outcome. And you want to leave all of that money on the table.
Right. And Mike, if it is about money, again, it's twofold. Investors are a different breed, but if somebody's looking, and I, in your 3-pack, by the way, as I was listening, great as always, one of the things that you said is some people need to move and some people want to move. If they need to move, then we have to shift as an agent, you have to shift your conversation to answer those needs. And if they want to move, it's different. So again, if it's all about money and they maybe want to upsize or downsize, they're definitely focusing on rates and location and a better altered life for them. But if they're moving, maybe they had a better job, then numbers won't always tie into the equation.
One of the questions though I always do ask is, and it goes back to the lesson I've always tried to teach my kids is always consider the source of information. Rates are high. This is a bad time to buy. The market's going to crash and da 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 da. And I'm just gonna get stranded. And I do ask them. I mean, what are you reading that I'm not reading? Because everything I'm reading is contrary, and I'm not trying to be contrary here, but everything I'm reading is contrary to what you're telling me. What am I missing here? Where are those? Where are those studies? Where are those economists?
And Mike, again, I think going back to your earlier conversation, I think we don't have the bandwidth of bigger social media sites out there, and you're just people are just bombarded with. I want to say thanks, Todd. I wanted to say news, but I'm not sure if news is exactly what it is. It's put out there. It's just regurgitating the same thing. And sometimes people mock what they don't understand. And if they just see it over and over, a lot of their friends and family are telling them, how many conversations will we have where buyers are like, oh, I know you have to put 20% down or we can't buy a house. And that might have been good information for other reasons, but that's not necessarily gospel. You might be able to buy a house with nothing down.
And to Mike's point, in the 3-pack, if you're talking to someone and that person can't qualify, I mean, their rates off, their income, they don't have the saved amount of money. Of course, those people are going to talk negative about the market just as a way of justifying why they can't play.
Exactly, Todd. And now everybody, like you said, it's not one size fits all. And that kind of goes back to Mike's other question. You have to gather that information. And you don't want to waste time. Again, I'm a firm believer, treat people correctly, whether it's a karma thing or being raised right, whatever it might be. But traditionally, you might be speaking to a person that really can't play that game.
I know you think that you were raised right,
Mhm.
but your parents raised you to be a Bills fan. and I don't know.
Going
Easy,
there,
buddy.
huh?
Oh,
Easy.
was that going to? Well, you're a
Bills
U
and
of A
Patriots.
fan,
We
so
always,
that's no better. Okay, did I just get personal?
No, not at all. I mean, you like a dolphin.
So
That's
far,
your
Dolphins
business.
aren't protected classes, so we're
Well, I was
good.
about to say Dolphins are 2-0.
Right. What did the Bills do to him last year?
It's not last year. See, this is the thing. You would tell every agent on your team, let's look to the future. Let's not focus on the past.
Okay, and touche. We haven't played you yet. And the last time we
All
did,
right,
we won.
preparing for rates to drop.
Right.
Okay, but I want to, and you can brief. I think for the most part, I think we've hammered that on this podcast, right?
Right.
But you can definitely add something. But I want to kind of now change gears a little bit of put you in your team leader role. You run one of the most prolific teams here at West USA. How are you preparing your team as far as conversations, budgeting, getting through the storm, and preparing for when rates do drop?
Great question, Mike. Ebbs and flows. And I just think, like life in oceans, everything's going to follow that pattern. To have an agent at any level say that they're busy, I'm sorry, not busy, it kind of drives me not crazy, but it's crazy to me that they think you're not busy, because you could be having, at this point, knowing what rates are and knowing that inventory is low. And if you read your data, and Todd, again, great point, you need to bring in facts so you have education to give to clients. But I explain to the team that, well, right now rates are high and inventory is low. That's where you should be having good conversations and getting into the mindset of the maybe non-professional first-time buyers. They need your guidance to walk them through, because you can't enjoy a rainbow without a thunderstorm, I guess. And here we are. And again, I don't think I'm not busy. I'm as busy as I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the conversation shifts on, calming people down.
Well, I also think agents define busy in different ways. I find most agents define busy as how many deals that they have going on, right, and how many escrows that they have. Even if you don't have escrows, you should be busy going back to prospecting.
100%.
And it's still a full-time job, but don't get caught up in the busy work.
Right.
Taking
And that goes back maybe, Mike, to some of the news that you read out there online of how many deals are closing or what's expected of you. Again, we joke and call it farming, but what you're closing is what you're closing. But what you should be doing is making sure that the crops are being properly seeds planted, tended to, and that's what keeps your funnel or your pipeline flowing. And when rates adjust, whichever way they go, you're going to be a different kind of busy, but always keep your mindset focused, and you got to stay true to your cause.
All right. Last topic. As a team leader, and I know we have a lot of agents out there that have entertained the idea of joining a team, and I would highly recommend you, if you are one of those, or you don't have enough people to talk to on a daily basis, and you don't have the amount of escrows, I would definitely check out Shawn Rogers and the Mr. Rogers team. I got his email and phone number up there. But walk me through some of the key systems. If I were to join your team, I'm floundering, I'm not doing well when it comes down to closings. What kind of systems am I missing, and what kind of systems do you bring to help agents grow their business?
Great question, Mike. And I also wanted to thank everybody here for allowing me to speak and help other people. And thank you, West USA, for all you do for us. From the bottom of my heart, I think that a lot of people might get nervous of not moving forward at the correct speed. So what, as a team lead, I bring is confidence to them, and I'll always support them. But more importantly, we have a system in place. We have thousands of leads that are accessible, leads coming in all the time. There's actually a process, believe it or not, to working leads and to staying on your course. So when somebody reaches out, a client, different skill sets are in place and they're all available to us. So much like your team, Mike, and as a top producer as you are, you have to always be there for somebody, but you have to offer something that they don't have. And with us, it's leads, it's a CRM, it's years of experience, it's just the know-how to navigate through the beginning to the end of any given transaction.
How do you guys stay in touch with your clients?
I think it's a little different when as a team lead. I like to spot check. I call it batch checking. I'll pretty much go into the system and just look and see what might need a little, refresher. But for the agents on the team, there's texting, there's email, there's calling. And then when you get deeper into it, you would put them on different action plans and different stage settings. And just, for example, a relocation lead, you may not need to reach out to 25 times in a week if they're not moving for a couple of years. So you adjust the action plans, and we have those predetermined on which best fits that client, which goes back to the beginning, Mike, of finding out what they're looking for.
What am I not asking you?
I think you're covering a great gamut. I think one thing, not that you didn't ask, but I think a lot of people don't understand that this business, if you're converting 3 leads out of 100, you're doing pretty well. But those 97 other leads, it doesn't mean that they're not going to convert. They're just not going to convert perhaps right now.
Yeah, we try to put people on our timetable. Okay,
We
buying
do.
a home and selling a home is a major financial decision, and I can't put you on my timetable. If you had to do it, go back in time and had the opportunity to do it again, what would you do different? Or what would you focus like what would you do to avoid the mistakes and to I don't know, speed up the success?
Believe it or not, Mike, I think about this all the time now that I'm getting older. I look back and the people that were where I wanted to be, I would have definitely taken more time to hear how they made it to the level. I guess you should listen to the people that have made it in the industry as opposed to everything around you. And that's
powerful.
That's really powerful.
Oh, thank you. And, it's kind of like listening to the grandparent story. They made it through this or that. And
I heard a comment a long time ago, and I haven't thought of it till just now, Shawn, so thank you. And the comment is, stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides.
Exactly.
You're a unique individual, and just because your pattern didn't take off as fast as somebody else's pattern, that does not mean you're not cut out for this job. What it basically means is, fail forward. You are who you are because of everything that's happened to you in your life.
Right.
So.
And I'd like to real quick, just thank my mom. I love you, my wife, and West USA. And I say that not just for accolades or thanking them. I say that because when you look at successful people, you sometimes realize it didn't start off that way, and it takes time, and they struggle with different. It's a big responsibility being alive.
Well, I always maintain that this is definitely not a business to be done alone. I don't know how many weeks we just tell agents to go out and find the top producers and take them out to lunch and spend that time. Fortunately for me, and I don't consider myself a smart man by any means.
I'm right there with you, Mike.
But I've always done that.
Yeah.
I've always done that from day one of just linked into people whom I wanted to produce at their level, spend that time and learn things from them. And that, I think, is really what a coach can do for you and a team can do for you, because it's you have to invest in your business. It's like going to college or going to a university. And if you don't want to pay for it now, you're just going to take longer to make the money. So I leave that with a final thought. Shawn, thanks so much.
You're more than welcome.
Appreciate it. And leave everybody with the quote of the day. Well, I have a day. If I know how to make the most of it, I have a treasure. We gotta work on quotes that I have an easier time reading.
No, we do this on purpose. We're trying to make them exponentially harder.
Actually, I think you do.
This is the Ron Burgundy
We
part
laughed
of
at
the show.
this for about an hour last week when we saw you.
Level up.
All right, appreciate everybody joining us today. Go out and sell a home.